Hello, welcome back to The Backseat Fighter. I'm Charlie. Did you see those fights last night? 2 Fight of the Year candidates. I mean, let's look at this first one. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's the amount of blood and gore, and they're just throwing it down at the end of the 3 rounds. God. The head kick, he just eats it. Oh, the hematoma on Rebekki's head. Oh my goodness. Oh, Jesus. It might be the most brutal fight I've seen in a long time. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Look at his face. Any dream I have of getting monetized on this channel has just been killed by those 30 seconds. The amount of damage Rebekki took, I mean, that eye closed up so early on in the fight. I was surprised that the doctors let him keep going in those rounds with Chris Duncan there. But Chris Duncan was putting on a show. But then the heart and grit of Rebekki to come back in that 3rd round, explode Chris Duncan's face. I mean, explode his nose. He had the cheeks open up with the cuts, and it was just a blood and gore fest, the likes of which I haven't seen since Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald. That's the level of blood and war that these two were going to. Now, that hematoma, it reminded me of that Joanna Jędrzejczyk hematoma that she had on her head against Zhang Weili, I believe. But it was just ridiculous, man. What a fight. And if I'm being honest with you, it's a little bit worrying, you know? Obviously, we love that as fans, especially as you know, like real hardcore fans in this game. We love to see people go to war like that. And thank God we were able to see one in the fight before, which we'll get into. You think about the man behind the athlete. I think about Rebekki most in this situation. That's not the first time we've seen him like that in his career. And then this is the photo of after his last fight with both eyes just completely swollen. And let's have a look at Rebekki leaving the cage after last night's fight. I mean, here he is. He doesn't look great. He's shaky. Doesn't know where he's going. I'm hoping they rushed him off straight to the hospital because that was damage like I haven't seen in a very long time. The hematoma, both eyes closed up, the blood, the cut on his forehead, dripping blood everywhere. Straight after the fight, he kind of collapsed on the floor. But let's just give a round of applause for those two. I mean, Fight of the Year candidate for sure. But the fight I was most excited for on the fight card was Elves Brenver versus Ribovics. I'm not sure if all of you know, but I do the YouTube channel for Shoot to Box. And we just released this week Elves Brenver's training camp kind of little docu-series episode. And he looked amazing in sparring. I mean, look at some of the clips here. So I was really rooting for him coming into this fight, obviously, as part of like a shoot-to-box connection that I have. I was there, obviously, in International Fight Week as well with Charles Oliveira. But my goodness, those guys went to absolute war as well. And I'd love to have a look at that fight too, because I thought that Ribovics looked special. And I thought Elves kind of stepped up to the level and almost won this fight. But let's have a look. This is the first round. Ribovics putting on that pressure, and that stood out immediately. How well he was able to put the pressure on Elves and get him backing up towards the cage. And if you look, that's when Elves spins. And I don't know if he gets clipped, but Ribovics just jumps on top of him. Elves, such a dog, such a warrior, able to get back to his feet. And that's 1:40 left in just the first round. Ribovics still putting that pressure on Elves, but Elves starts landing. And you can see that he's kind of comfortable in the mix. Second round, 4:30. Ribovics comes out pushing, and Elves just gets on the jab, even from the southpaw position. He likes to switch. He was using that right hand, especially in the second round there, to ping Ribovics' head back and kind of keep that pressure off of him, but it didn't stop him. Like, he tried, but Ribovics just kept pushing, kept walking through those punches, but he was landing. And that's an important thing to keep in mind when it comes to the punch stats later on in this round. Ribovics is still landing. Elves using that jab from the orthodox stance now, and then they just swing it. Look at that, 3:14, but to try and push Ribovics back. Wild overhand for Ribovics, 2:37 left. And then this final minute of the second round, the high kicks are coming in from Ribovics. He's flying knees, but Elves isn't getting hit with any of these. So Elves was more accurate in this fight, but Ribovics was just more active, if that makes sense. And just swinging, final 15 seconds left in the round. Ribovics still pushing. Elves back against the cage. Elves throwing out that jab and lands a huge left hand. Another left hand too makes Ribovics miss badly. and they go into the third round, in my opinion, at the time, 1-1. Ribovics comes out in the third round, just swinging to the body. Elves goes for a takedown, 4 minutes 26 left. At this point, I'm thinking this could go any way. Oh! Ribovics with a crazy 1-2, 3 minutes left in the round. Ribovics chasing him, landing big shots over the top with the left again, and Elves' chin is incredible. 1 minute 50 lands another left hand. That double jab, triple jab, 4, 5, 6 jabs in a row with Ribovics just to keep Elves disorientated. And then Elves with a huge 1-2 with 1 minute 30 after getting dominated most of the round. And you start to think, well, can Elves find a finish here? Huge left hand with 1 minute 17 left. And look at that huge left hand Elves lands with 38 seconds left in the fight. Starts pouring it on. And they're just standing in the pocket, trading. I mean, this truly was fight of the year before the co-main event came on. And Elves with a spinning back fist, 25 seconds left, that lands. And it was just an incredible fight. Look at Elves, 13 seconds left, lands the left hook. I think this is round of the year, in my opinion, that I've seen so far. But what a round. But look at those two fights. Fights of the year, no question. And wow. You never expect it with the Apex cards, right? And obviously in the main event, Tyra does so well, drops Young Park, then gets the choke eventually as well. But I wanted to focus on those two fights because they were so bloody and such wars. Elves is such a good fighter, honestly. He's 3-3 in the UFC now, but he always goes to war, always so entertaining. I think he was very excited to show new wrinkles in his game, and I think he did. I think Ribovics' pressure was just so insane that he didn't get to show as much as he wanted to. But let's talk about Elves' jab there for me. Elves' jab out of both stances looked electric, was able to pop Ribovics' head back. But unfortunately, that pressure, that doggedness, that willingness to take a shot from Ribovics won him the fight. And especially visually for the judges, I'm sure they saw him in that smaller Apex octagon, just pushing Elves back most of the fight. Even though those wild exchanges, he was landing on Elves, but he wasn't outlanding Elves. Elves was still, matching up with him in terms of the punches landed stats. But Ribovics was just way more active and way more aggressive. Well done to both those guys. Really put on the fight of the night, in my opinion, before Chris Duncan and Rebecki came along. I thought the Chris Duncan fight was less competitive, if I'm honest with you. It was just more Rebecki's toughness and kind of that grit in the last, 30 of the third round that kind of brought that fight to life. But Chris Duncan himself, I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but I'm just so excited about this fight. Chris Duncan, now on a 3-fight win streak at lightweight, at American Top Team, really has some conversations to be had about getting maybe a ranked opponent because he is putting on some banger performances. Let's move on. I mean, let's think about what's next for all of these guys. I think Ribovics has really proven himself as one of, the up-and-coming contenders in this lightweight division. I think there's conversations to be had about where he could go now. Could we see him fight somebody like Grant Dawson for the number 14 spot? It's just that lightweight is such a killer's row. Maybe Michael Chandler versus Ribovics. That could be a good fight, Honestly, I'm not mad at that. That'd be a slugfest. I think Ribovics may even come out on top in that fight. That's what I want. I'm competitive for it. I don't care how far out it is. Ribovics versus Michael Chandler next. That's what I want to see. And for Elves, I think he needs some rest. Obviously, took a lot of damage in that fight. But he looks good. I mean, in the training that I saw in that video that we made, a lot of the footage, he looked great. He looked confident. And he looks at a good place in life where I think he'll be able to digest this loss. He'll be proud of himself, proud of his defensive ability. Maybe need to brush up some things defensively, but he put on a great fight. I think the UFC will still love him, still treat him well, hopefully. And we could see him against a lot of people in this lightweight division. And I think his future is very exciting. Maybe we get Ribovics versus Chris Duncan. I'm sure they'll be on the similar schedules coming off of this fight. Both in a war, both probably need about 6-7 months to be back in there. But let's see it. Maybe that's the one too. Maybe we just do it simply and get Ribovics versus Chris Duncan. I'm probably butchering Ribovics' name. It's probably Ribovics. Anyway, I think it was such a great week of fights. I was meant to do more content around the RDR versus Whittaker fight, obviously. And I said I'd be more on it. But it was because some things were going down, but I was down in the West Village in New York City and I was outside watching it in a little cafe down there on Bleecker Street. The laptop was on a stool. Here's a video of it.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers.
is how you watch UFC, lads. This is how you watch UFC, honestly. It's the new way. It's the new religion. Jesus, this is my church now. But honestly, this last week of fights has been insane. Absolutely insane. I mean, let's think about that RDR versus Whittaker round. Was it round 3 or round 4? It was round 3, right? RDR hurts him. He was using those knees from long range, digging them into the body of Whittaker. The size difference was apparent immediately in that fight. And I thought it would be the differentiating factor. Because for all we can say that RDR doesn't have the cleanest striking, that he's a little bit sloppy when it comes to his techniques, his defense, his striking in general. What you can't say about him is that he's not a big motherfucker who knows how to fight, who was a 2-weight world champion in 1, who's come over here and has gone 4-0 in the UFC, I believe, right? So when he was able to close those distance with the knees, I could feel it every time I was sitting there with my friend and we were both wincing and wincing in pain every time we saw that knee land. But in that third round, obviously, it hurts Robert Whittaker, chases him up across the octagon. Whittaker just unloads the overhand, drops Whittaker. I mean, let's look at this. He's chasing him. It's Whittaker. Oh my God. Overhand over the top. Just absolutely destroys RDR. And I was shocked that RDR didn't go out with the ground and pound from Whittaker there. And, you know, for Robert Whittaker, what is next? I mean, that is a difficult conversation. You know, he is a former champion in this sport. He is a legend. He's for all the best of his era. And I would say his era is more that Israel Adesanya, Calvin Gastelum, Joel Romero, old Anderson Silva. And now we're seeing that new era of middleweights, right? That RDR, Hamzat, Dricus du Plessis. I don't know if he can be champion again. And therefore, what does he want to do? I think he was already speaking about retirement. He said, I want 4 more fights. I want to retire with the belt, be on top, as does every fighter. But he does get hurt in his fights, right? He does take damage. And I don't know at what point does it become not worth it for somebody like Robert Whittaker. Now, RDR is an interesting conversation because he really is up next for a title shot after, you know, Dricus du Plessis and Hamzat fight next week. That's going to be insane. I could see RDR beating Dricus du Plessis. I know that's controversial, but I also see Dricus du Plessis beating Hamzat. So MMA maths doesn't really work out because I also see Hamzat beating RDR. So I think there's a little triangle going on there at the top of the middleweight division. I don't know if it's full of love, but it's definitely there. It's definitely some sort of 3-sided shape. Do you know what I mean? Because those guys are going to emerge as the big dogs in this division. I would love to see maybe RDR versus Izzy Adesanya. I know Izzy is coming off a loss to Imavov. You know, one of my favorite fighters of all time. Got him right here, knocking out Alex Pereira. But it's going to be an interesting time in the middleweight division. It's alive. It's thriving again. And that's kind of why RDR winning in terms of the future of the middleweight division was probably a good thing for the UFC in terms of the brass, in terms of Dana, Hunter, and all them, the matchmakers. They probably would have liked RDR to win just because they can use the fact that he was a 2-weight world champion in 1. They can use the fact that he's beat Bo Nickel. They can use the fact that he's beat Robert Whittaker to prop him up and put him in position to make a big fight with either Dricus du Plessis, Hamzat, Israel Adesanya. Those are the type of names. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. What a crazy night of fights. Happy to be back on the channel. This is the best sport in the world. I know the UFC, we all thought it was kind of struggling the first half of the year, but since International Fight Week, it's been absolutely electric. Thank you so much for watching. And if I've missed out anything, I'll try and get it next time. You can let me know. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. And I will see you next time on The Backseat Fighter. Hope you like the new content. Hope you like the new style of things. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.